Your mother disappeared. Who's going to pay the bill? Louisa's piercing shout tore through the entire restaurant. Every single patron turned to stare at our table. It was her birthday, her grand celebration with 20 guests she had personally invited. And I had just stood up, grabbed my purse, and started walking toward the restroom. Except I wasn't heading to the restroom. I was making a straight line for the exit, where a taxi sat waiting for me. I left the chaos behind, the raised voices, the confusion, the unpaid $450 check, and my son Jamal desperately searching for me between the tables while Shanice screamed that I had ruined her perfect night. But that was only the beginning of everything. When Jamal flicked on the living room light at 2 in the morning, the cry that escaped his throat was one of pure desperation, because there I was, sitting calmly in my favorite armchair with 3 packed suitcases beside me and a folder of documents on the coffee table, waiting for them. I knew they would come. I knew that after abandoning them at that upscale bistro with all their friends as witnesses to their humiliation, they would arrive furious, demanding an explanation. Perhaps they thought they could force me to return, to fix the mess, to pull out my credit card as I always had. But that night, I was no longer the same woman they had been walking over for years. That night, Alara Jenkins, at 68 years old, had stopped being the convenient mother. I had become someone entirely different, someone who had finally found the courage to say enough is enough. However, to understand how I reached that point, I need to tell you everything from the beginning. I need you to understand that this wasn't a sudden whim or a bout of insanity, as Jamal yelled to the restaurant manager. It was the result of months, perhaps years, of swallowing my pride, of pretending it didn't hurt, of convincing myself that a mother's love means sacrificing everything, even her own dignity. It all started about 2 years ago. Jamal called me one Sunday afternoon with that special tone in his voice, the one he used when he needed something. I knew that tone well. I'd heard it hundreds of times since he was a teenager. But now Jamal was 35, with a stable job as a sales manager and a wife who earned good money as a graphic designer. Mama, I need to ask you an enormous favor. It's kind of urgent. My heart immediately raced. I thought of accidents, illnesses, serious trouble. A mother always imagines the worst first. What happened, son? Are you okay? Is Shanice okay? Yeah, everyone's fine. It's just, well, we had an unexpected expense with Shanice's car, and this month we're a little tight. Could you lend us $500? We'll pay you back next month. Promise. $500. My Social Security check was $800 a month. I lived paycheck to paycheck. But he was my son. My only son. How could I refuse him? Of course, Jamal. I'll transfer it tomorrow morning. You're the best mama in the world. I promise we'll pay you back soon. He never did. The following month, it was the air conditioning repair, $300. Then Shanice's birthday, $200 to help with the celebration. Next, an expensive gift they wanted to give an important business partner of Jamal's. Then their wedding anniversary. Then new furniture for the living room because the old pieces didn't match the decor anymore. In 6 months, I had lent them over $3,000. And every time I timidly mentioned the possibility of them starting to pay some of it back, Jamal would look at me with disappointment. Mama, I thought you did it because you love us, not because you expected something in return. I didn't know you were keeping score. Those words made me feel awful, like I was the villain, the petty, selfish mother who put a price tag on love. So I stopped mentioning the money, and they stopped pretending they would ever pay it back. The visits changed too. Before, Jamal would come over on Sundays for coffee, to talk, to ask me how I was doing. Now he only showed up when he needed something, and Shanice almost never came. When she did, she'd stay glued to her phone, answering in monosyllables if I tried to start a conversation. One day, they showed up without calling. It was a Friday evening, and I was preparing my simple dinner, chicken broth with vegetables. I heard the key in the lock. Jamal had always had a copy of my keys for emergencies. Hey, Mama. We brought Chinese food. Are you hungry? Shanice walked in behind him, carrying several bags. For a moment, I felt joy. They had thought of me. They wanted to share dinner with me. That's so sweet, son. I was just cooking, but don't worry. I'll save mine for tomorrow. Nah, we're starving. They settled at my table as if they were in their own home. They took out the food containers and served themselves onto my plates. I sat with them, smiling, trying to start a conversation. How was work this week? Fine. Mama. Fine. Shanice, pass me the soy sauce. Jamal, did you remember the wine we left here last time? Sure did. It's in Mama's fridge. Mama, can you get it for us? I got up to fetch the wine. It was an expensive bottle they had left weeks ago. I poured 2 glasses for them. They didn't offer me any. They ate quickly, talking to each other about things I didn't understand, names of people I didn't know, places they had been where I hadn't been invited. I felt like a ghost in my own house. When they finished, Jamal leaned back in his chair with a satisfied sigh. Mama, I need to talk to you about something important. There it was again. The tone, the request disguised as conversation. Shanice and I are thinking of taking a trip for our anniversary. Something special, 3 years married. We found an incredible all-inclusive package to the Bahamas. The problem is it's this month, and with all the expenses we've had. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I knew exactly what was coming. How much do you need? $2,000. I know it's a lot, Mama, but it's our anniversary. You only get married once. $2,000. Almost 3 months of my pension. Jamal, I don't have that much available right now. For the first time all night, Shanice looked up from her phone and stared right at me. There was something cold in her eyes. You don't have savings? I have some saved, but it's for emergencies. And what's more important than your own son's happiness, Elara? Jamal works so hard. He deserves a vacation. We'd do the same for our parents if we had the means. The way she said my name, not Mom or Mrs. Jenkins, just Elara, as if we were friends, or worse, as if she had some kind of authority over me. Let me see what I can do. Thanks, Mama. We knew we could count on you. They left half an hour later, taking the rest of the wine and leaving the dirty dishes on the table. I stayed sitting there, staring at the remnants of the dinner they had brought, which I hadn't ordered, which they had devoured, and for which now, in some twisted way, I had to pay with my savings. That night, I cried for the first time in months. Not exactly from sadness. It was something worse. It was the feeling of having become invisible, of existing only as a means to obtain something. But I wasn't ready to admit it yet. I still convinced myself that this was how modern families were, that adult children needed support, that I was being dramatic. I transferred the $2,000 2 days later. The trip to the Bahamas lasted 1 week. During those 7 days, Jamal sent me exactly 3 texts. The first was a photo of them at the airport. We've taken off, Mama. The second was an image of the beach. This is amazing. The third arrived on the last day. Coming back tomorrow. Love you. 3 messages in 7 days, paid for with 2 years of my savings. They didn't call me once, not even to ask how I was, if I had eaten, if I needed anything. I, who had to go to the doctor that week because my blood pressure shot up suddenly, and I spent 2 days feeling so dizzy I could barely get out of bed. Alone. Completely alone. My neighbor, Brenda Taylor, was the one who drove me to the clinic. She barely knew me. She owed me nothing. Your son can't come with you? He's away with his wife. I don't want to worry him. Brenda looked at me with something that resembled pity. She didn't say anything else, but her silence spoke louder than any words. When Jamal and Shanice returned, 2 weeks passed before they came to visit me. They arrived one Saturday afternoon, tanned, relaxed, full of energy. They brought their suitcases. "Mama, we're staying for the weekend. They're fumigating our building, and the smell is unbearable." It wasn't a question. "No problem," I said. They were already walking in, dropping their things in my guest room, which I used as a sewing space. "Sure, son. My house is your house." Shanice walked past me without even saying hello. She went straight to the bathroom with her makeup bag. I heard her turn on the shower. "Mama, do you have anything to eat? We're starving." Jamal flopped onto the sofa and turned on the television. "I have ingredients to make something. What are you in the mood for?" "I don't know, anything. Something good." At the hotel, the food was incredible every day. I miss that food. Something inside me twisted. I had paid for that hotel, that incredible food, that luxury vacation. And now they arrived at my house expecting me to keep serving them as if nothing had happened. But I didn't say anything. I never said anything. I prepared chicken pasta. I used the last good ingredients I had in the refrigerator. I set the table nicely with cloth napkins and everything. I wanted them to feel welcome. I wanted them to remember that their mama could cook well too, that I could make good things, that I was worth more than just the money I could lend them. When I called them for dinner, it took them 10 minutes to come. They were watching something on the phone, laughing together. They sat down and started eating without saying a word. Not a thank you, not a "this looks good." Nothing. "So, how was the trip? Did you have a good time?" "Amazing, Mama." The hotel was 5-star. Private beach, top-notch everything. "Shanice got to relax a ton, right, babe?" "Yes, exactly what I needed." The spa was spectacular. I got massages every day. I felt a knot in my stomach. Massages every day with my money while I was alone, dizzy, dragging myself to the doctor. "And how are you, Mama?" Jamal asked the question without looking up from his plate, like something automatic, like when you ask how someone is without really wanting to know the answer. "Fine." I had to go to the doctor because my blood pressure went up, but I'm better now. "Oh, that's good you're better, Mama. This pasta is a little dry. Don't you have more sauce?" I swallowed. I had just told him I had been sick, and his only response was to ask for more sauce. Shanice put her fork down on the plate with a sigh. "I can't eat any more. I'm so full." "Ilara, do you have dessert?" "No, Shanice. I don't have dessert." What a shame. At the hotel, they had an incredible dessert buffet. You could have as much as you wanted. She got up from the table, leaving half the food on her plate. Jamal followed shortly after. Both settled into the living room to watch a movie, leaving me alone with the dirty dishes and the wasted food. I washed everything in silence. I put away the leftovers, cleaned the kitchen. From the living room, I heard their laughter. They were watching a comedy together, happy. That night, I slept poorly. I heard them moving in the next room. I heard their quiet conversations. At one point, Shanice's voice rose slightly. "No, Jamal. We've already asked her for too much this year. Give her some time." "Well, what do you want me to do? She's my mama. That's what mothers are for." "Yeah, but we need to be more strategic. We can't ask her every month. She's going to catch on." She's going to catch on. Those words hit me like a punch. As if there was a plan. As if I were a resource to be managed. I stayed awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside me begin to break. On Sunday morning, I prepared breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh orange juice squeezed by hand. I set the table again with care. Jamal came down first, yawning, his hair messed up. Morning, Mama. Smells good. Shanice appeared 20 minutes later, perfectly put together with straightened hair and full makeup, as if for a photo shoot. Is there coffee? Yes, I just made it. She poured a cup and sat down, looking at her phone. She didn't even try the food I had prepared. Ilara, this coffee is instant. Yes, it's what I always drink. Oh, I only drink whole bean coffee. Instant makes my stomach hurt. Don't you have another kind? No, Shanice. This is it. She sighed dramatically and pushed the cup away. Jamal ate quickly without speaking. When he finished, he wiped his mouth and looked at me with that expression I knew so well. Mama, can I talk to you for a moment? Sure, son. Shanice immediately stood up. I'm going to pack our bags. We were left alone. Jamal played with a napkin in his hands without looking directly at me. Mama, I know we've already asked you for a lot this year, and believe me, we appreciate it so much. But something came up, and we need your help one more time. My heart started beating faster. A feeling of dread tightened my chest. What happened? Nothing bad. Relax. It's just that, well, we saw an amazing apartment. It's perfect for us. Bigger, in a better neighborhood, with a gym and a pool. The problem is they're asking for 2 months' deposit, and we only have enough for one. We'd need $2,000 more. Jamal, I don't have any more savings. I gave you everything I had for the trip. I know. But don't you have a credit card? Or could you take an advance on your Social Security? I can't do that. I'm already tight with what I have every month. For the first time, Jamal looked me straight in the eye. There was frustration in his gaze. Mama, I just don't get it. You live alone. You don't have big expenses. What do you spend your money on? On food, Jamal. On medicine. On utilities. On keeping up this house where you two come and stay whenever you want. Okay, don't get upset. I was just asking. I thought that as a family we could help each other. I have helped you many times. Yes, and we appreciate it. But this is different. It's an investment in our future. At some point, you're going to get older and you might need us to take care of you. This is like making sure we have a comfortable place where we can all be. All. The word sounded hollow because I wasn't included in that all. It was just an excuse, an elegant way to make me feel guilty. Let me think about it. How long do you need? Because the apartment won't last long on the market. A few days, Jamal. He sighed, clearly annoyed. Fine, but try to decide fast. Yes. He got up and went to find Shanice. 10 minutes later, they were at the door with their bags. Thanks for everything, Mama. We'll call you this week. A quick kiss on the cheek, not even a hug, and they were gone. I stood at the door, watching their car drive away. The house fell silent, a heavy, painful silence that made me feel more alone than ever. I went into the room where they had slept. Towels were thrown on the floor. The bed was unmade. They had used my expensive shampoo, the one I saved for special occasions. The bottle was nearly empty. In the bathroom, I found the tube of toothpaste squeezed from the middle, the cap left open, Shanice's hairs in the sink, makeup stains on my white towel. I cleaned everything like an automaton, changed the sheets, tidied up, erased every trace that they had been there. But I couldn't erase what I had overheard the night before. We need to be more strategic. As if I were a problem to solve, an obstacle to manage. That night, sitting in my empty living room with the television off and only the sound of the clock ticking the seconds, something shifted inside me. It was small still, just a whisper, but it was there. The doubt. The uncomfortable question I had been avoiding for months. When did I become this? Someone who only matters for what she can give? The following days were strange. Jamal called me 3 times that week, 3 times in 7 days, more than he had called me in the last 2 months combined. But I knew it wasn't because he was worried about my health or because he missed me. It was because he needed an answer about the money for the apartment. Mama, have you thought about it yet? I need to know because the owner is pressuring us. Jamal, I really can't. I have nowhere to get that amount. But did you try taking out a loan? There are options, Mama. I'll help you look for a loan. He wanted me, a 68-year-old woman with an $800 monthly pension, to take out a loan to finance their luxury apartment. I'm not going into debt, son. The silence on the other end of the line was long, uncomfortable. All right, I understand. I guess we'll have to look for another option. He hung up without saying goodbye, without saying, I love you, without asking how I was. He just hung up. For 2 weeks, I heard nothing from him. Nothing. Not a call, not a text. It was as if I had ceased to exist the moment I stopped being useful to them. I spent my time looking at the phone, waiting. Every time it rang, my heart jumped, thinking it would be Jamal. But it was only telemarketing calls or bank messages. The loneliness began to weigh on me in a different way. It wasn't just being physically alone, it was feeling like I mattered to no one. One afternoon, Brenda invited me to coffee at her place. I almost never accepted invitations because I always thought Jamal might show up or call. But that day, after 2 weeks of silence, I accepted. Her house smelled like cinnamon and fresh coffee. She had photos everywhere, of her kids, her grandkids, her trips. Everyone smiling. It looked like a real family. How long since you last saw your son, Ilara? 2 weeks. He's busy with work and all that. Brenda nodded as she poured the coffee. She didn't say anything, but I noticed her lips pressed together slightly. My kids come every Sunday. Sometimes during the week too. They call me every day, even if it's for 5 minutes. I know I'm lucky. I felt a pang of envy, of pain, of shame too. Jamal is very hardworking. He has a lot of responsibilities. Of course. But a phone call doesn't take that long, does it? I took a sip of coffee so I wouldn't have to answer. Brenda noticed. Ilara, forgive me for getting involved where I don't belong. But I've watched you these past few months, and you worry me. Always waiting, always available. And he only shows up when he needs something. It's not like that. When was the last time he came over just to visit you? Without asking for money? Without staying over because he had a problem? Without needing something? Just to be with you? I couldn't answer because I simply couldn't remember the last time. Kids have their lives. It's normal. Yes, they have their lives. But good people don't forget where they come from. They don't use their parents like ATM machines. Brenda, he doesn't use me. He's my son. I help him because I want to. All right. I'm sorry. I don't want to fight with you. I just want you to know that you are worth much more than he makes you feel. I returned home with her words echoing in my head. You are worth much more than he makes you feel. Was it true? Or was she just a nosy neighbor who didn't understand the relationship between a mother and son? That night, Jamal finally called. Mama, how are you? Fine, son. And you? Good. Good. Hey, we got the apartment. My boss ended up loaning us the money we were short. We're moving next weekend. That's good, son. I'm happy for you both. Yeah, we're super excited. Hey, could you help us with the move? We need someone to be at the old apartment to receive the moving company while we're at the new place organizing. Can you do Saturday? Sure, I'll be there. Perfect. I'll text you the address. You have to be there at 8 in the morning. The movers are punctual. And you guys will be there, right? I told you, we have to be at the new apartment. That's why we need you to be at the old one. All right then. Thanks, Mama. You're the best. He hung up. He didn't even ask if I could get there at that time or if I had transportation. He just assumed I would be available, as always. On Saturday, I woke up at 6 in the morning. I took 2 buses to get to their old apartment. It was cold, and my knees ached from the dampness. I arrived at 7:50. The movers showed up right at 8. There were 3 big men who started loading boxes and furniture without saying much to me. I stayed there, supervising as Jamal had asked, making sure they didn't forget anything. By 11 in the morning, the apartment was empty. I stood in the middle of the unfurnished living room, looking at the marks on the floor where the sofas had been, the lighter squares on the walls where they had hung pictures. I sent a text to Jamal. The move is over. Everything is clear. It took him 2 hours to reply. Okay, thanks. Leave the keys with the doorman. That was it. Not, how did it go? Not, do you want to come see the new place? Not, do you have a way to get home? Nothing. I left the keys with the doorman and left. I took the 2 buses back. I arrived home at 3 in the afternoon, exhausted, with swollen knees and a terrible headache. I made myself a cup of tea and sat on my sofa. I looked at my phone. No more messages, no calls. It was at that moment, in the absolute silence of my empty house, that something inside me finally snapped. It wasn't dramatic. There were no tears. Just a cold clarity that struck me like lightning. I wasn't their mother. I was their employee, their personal bank, their emergency resource. But I wasn't their mother, because mothers deserve love. And what I was receiving wasn't love. 2 weeks later, I received an invitation by text. It wasn't exactly an invitation, it was more of an announcement. Mama, Shanice's birthday is October 15th. We're celebrating at the Red Velvet Bistro at 8 p.m. Confirm if you can come. The Red Velvet Bistro, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, the kind of place where dinner could easily cost $60 per person. And knowing Shanice, it wasn't going to be a simple dinner. I confirmed that I would go, not because I wanted to, but because I still held that foolish hope that maybe at a family celebration I could reclaim some of the connection I felt I had lost with my son. The days leading up to the birthday were weird. Jamal didn't call me once, but Shanice called 3 times. Did you buy my gift yet? The question caught me off guard. I hadn't even thought about it. Not yet, Shanice. Is there anything specific you want? Well, I have a wish list at Neiman Marcus. I can send you the link. There are things at different prices, but obviously the ones I like best are between $200 and $300. $300 for a gift for my daughter-in-law who didn't even treat me with respect, who barely spoke to me, who called me by my first name as if we were friends when clearly we weren't. I'll see what I can do. Perfect. And one more thing, there are going to be like 20 people at the dinner. Jamal and I are paying for our part, obviously. But it would be nice if you, as the mother-in-law, could cover something too. I don't know, maybe the drinks or the dessert. What do you think? She didn't ask if I could. She told me it would be nice, as if it were my obligation. As if I had the duty to finance her birthday party with 20 guests I didn't even know. Shanice, I don't know if I can cover anything extra. It's been a tough month. Oh, Alara, it's my birthday. I only turned 30 once. Can't you really make an effort? Her voice had that tone I had learned to recognize. Half complaint, half manipulation, the tone she used to make me feel like the bad guy in the story. I'll see what I can do. I knew you would. You're the best mother-in-law in the world. She hung up before I could say anything else. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling the rage begin to grow inside me, a silent, contained, but very real rage. I spent the days before Shanice's birthday in a kind of haze. I knew I had to buy a gift. I knew I would probably end up paying for part of that dinner. And I knew that after all of it, I would still be invisible to them. I went to the department store Shanice had indicated. I walked in with my old purse, my worn shoes, feeling completely out of place among all the elegant people buying expensive things. I looked up Shanice's wish list on one of those digital kiosks. When I saw the prices, I felt the floor move beneath my feet. The cheapest item cost $180. It was a set of towels. Towels. The items she really liked, the ones she had marked as favorites, ranged from $300 up to a designer handbag, a French aroma diffuser, some Italian shoes. I stood in front of that screen for 10 minutes, fighting back tears but refusing to cry in the middle of that store. Finally, I chose the towel set, $180 that left me with almost nothing for the rest of the month. The cashier wrapped it in elegant paper with a gold bow. It looked pretty expensive, as if I were someone who could afford that luxury. It's a special gift for my daughter-in-law. It's her birthday. How nice. I'm sure she'll really appreciate it. I smiled without replying because I knew she wouldn't. I knew Shanice would open it, look at it for 2 seconds, and say something like, "Oh, these are nice. Thanks." And never mention it again. On the day of the birthday, I dressed up as best I could. I put on my least old dress, the one I saved for special occasions. I put on a little makeup, carefully fixed my hair. I wanted to look presentable. I wanted Jamal to be proud of his mother. I arrived at the Red Velvet Bistro right at 8. It was an impressive place. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, impeccable white tablecloths, the kind of place where you feel poor just breathing the air. A hostess greeted me with a professional smile. "Do you have a reservation?" "I'm with Shanice's group. The birthday girl." "Right this way, please." She led me to the back of the restaurant where a long table was already full of people. I recognized Jamal immediately. He was laughing with a group of men, a glass of wine in his hand. He was wearing a new shirt I hadn't seen before. He looked happy, relaxed. Shanice was at the other end, surrounded by elegant women in expensive dresses and sparkling jewelry. She was wearing a tight red dress that probably cost more than 2 months of my pension. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was styled in soft waves that fell over her shoulders. I stood by the table, waiting for someone to notice me. Several seconds passed, maybe a minute. No one saw me. Finally, Jamal looked up. "Oh, Mama, you made it. Sit down wherever you can find space." He didn't get up. He didn't come to greet me. He didn't introduce me to his friends. He just vaguely pointed toward the table and returned to his conversation. I found an empty chair near the end of the table, far from Jamal and far from Shanice. I sat between 2 young couples I didn't know. They were talking among themselves, laughing about something I didn't understand. "Hello," they said, barely looking at me, and continued their conversation. I stayed sitting there with my gift in my lap, feeling completely invisible. A waiter approached with the wine list. "Would you like to order something to drink?" "Water is fine, thank you." "Are you sure? We have an excellent wine selection." "Just water, please." I wasn't going to spend money on wine when I knew I'd likely have to contribute to paying this check. The dinner began. Appetizers they had ordered, but which appeared in front of me anyway, were brought out. Bacon-wrapped shrimp, mushroom bruschetta, small portions of smoked salmon. Everything looked delicious, but I could barely eat. My stomach was knotted. All around me, everyone was laughing and talking. They made toasts, told stories. I was in the middle of 20 people, and I felt more alone than in my empty house. At one point, Shanice stood up and asked for attention. "I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate with me. This year has been incredible." I have a wonderful husband, amazing friends, and a life I wouldn't trade for anything. Let's toast to life, to love, and to many more years of happiness." Everyone raised their glasses. I raised my glass of water. No one noticed. Jamal stood up too. "To my beautiful wife, the most special woman in the world. I love you." They kissed. Everyone applauded. I applauded too, though my hands felt heavy. The main course was brought out. I had ordered the cheapest item on the menu, a chicken dish that still cost $35. The others ordered cuts of steak that cost $60 or $70, lobster, scallops, dishes with French names I couldn't even pronounce. I ate slowly, trying to make my plate last, trying to have something to do with my hands while everyone else conversed among themselves. The woman next to me told her husband about a trip they were planning to Europe. The man on the other side talked about stock market investments. I had nothing to contribute to those conversations, nothing in common with those people. I didn't travel. I didn't invest. I barely survived month to month on my pension. After the main course came dessert, a tower of profiteroles with chocolate sauce for the whole table. And then the cake, a huge 3-tiered cake decorated with edible gold flowers. The cake alone probably cost over $200. We sang Happy Birthday. Shanice blew out the candles. More applause, more toasts. Then came the moment for gifts. One by one, the guests gave her their boxes wrapped in elegant paper. She opened them with enthusiasm, showing off each gift. French perfume, a designer wallet, gold earrings, a spa certificate. Each gift more expensive than the last. When my turn came, I extended my box with the gold bow. "Happy birthday, Shanice." "Thanks." Shanice quickly opened the gift. She looked at the towels. She didn't even take them completely out of the box. "Oh, these are nice. Thanks." And she put the box aside and moved on to the next gift. $180, dismissed in 2 seconds. I felt something hot rise in my throat. It wasn't tears. It was rage. A rage that had been accumulating for months and now threatened to explode. When she finished opening all the gifts, the waiter brought the check. He left it in the center of the table. No one touched it for a moment. Everyone continued conversing, taking the last sips from their glasses, finishing their coffee. Then Jamal picked it up. I saw his eyes widen slightly when he saw the total. He turned to say something to Shanice in a low voice. She nodded. Then he looked over to where I was sitting. "Mama, can you come here for a moment?"